Hi, this is Paul Slatkus, Good News Planet. I'm speaking to Tobias Desjardins. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me on.
Well, our good mutual friend John Steller suggested that we speak, and he always has wonderful people for me to learn from. The International Center for Peaceful Shared Custody brings online solutions for parents, peace for children. Okay, this is a very, I'm going to say, serious subject because, and having been through a divorce and having, in essence, a great relationship with my former wife and my daughter and her kids now and everything, I love the fact that people are going to be talking about this, and especially you are, Tobias, and you're doing a great job at it. So tell us about your organization, and thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you. I love to hear that yours is a success story. And
I do too.
and I love that for the sake of your daughter. About 80% of folks these days manage to resolve their custody problems on their own. They don't fight. They make it through a very difficult process with dignity and showing respect for the other party, and really focusing on what are in the best interests of the kids. Unfortunately, about 20% get stuck, and when they get stuck, these cases can cause no end of harm to the most innocent folks in the whole mix. The ones that didn't cause the breakup in the first place, of course, is the children. And really, the center, the nonprofit center, and the book are the whole purpose of them is to help protect, to provide parents, step-parents, and grandparents with tools for protecting kids from the harm that can come from a custody dispute.
Okay. How did this evolve?
Well, I started working in this area as a therapist and as a mediator who specializes in custody cases. It just became. Go ahead.
No, I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It just became clear to me that while a lot of people were doing very well, there were a lot of people that were doing very badly. And the folks that were doing badly had one thing in common. They thought that the only way to deal with a difficult ex or a complicated custody dispute was to hire a pit bull attorney and go to war. And this is really a myth. And unfortunately, a lot of people have bought into it, and it causes sort of immeasurable harm. And when these folks are sort of learn that there are all kinds of options available to them for stepping down from combat posture, if they're already in a complicated, ugly custody dispute, most people, if you sit down with them quietly, get past the anger that they have, and you say, hey, if you could have a way to step down with dignity and work this thing out, would you take it? And almost everybody says yes. And the fact is, there are all kinds of tools and professionals out there for doing exactly that, but most people don't know about them.
Okay, so now peacefulsharedcustody.com is a website, a nonprofit community of parents helping parents. Mm-hmm. Okay, what does that mean?
Well, the idea here is that parents oftentimes are experts, and we don't give them the credit for that. And they often have much more credibility than folks like you and me have when it comes to providing ideas and suggestions to folks. And so the concept with this online nonprofit is to create a global community of parents who have walked down this road and are now thriving in spite of the breakup. So try and create a community of those folks and then connect them with the folks who are stuck.
I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, so many folks who are stuck feel like they're the only one in this situation, when in fact, more than 50% of the population in our country is going through this every day. And there's many, many people who are doing a fantastic job, like it sounds like you are.
So how does someone, so I see, though, you just began, right? September 7th, 2010, right? You just launched this outreach, and and so how can I help? So I'd love to be able to share my experience. I mean, I'm doing it now, but in essence, more so, because it's such a win. It's such a win to be spending time with your grandchildren, with your former mate, or maybe even with both mates, or one and a half mate, whatever it is, and to see those little pushes on those kids, because kids don't also have a lot of time to for one parent to come over one day and one the other one. If they're a married couple. In our situation, in grandparent situation, then there's if there's four people that are all divorced, right? That's four parents, and there's only 2 days in the weekend. So and everybody wants to be there. I don't know. We're there all the time. So I'm just bringing out some of the realities that I didn't know about early on. We would get into this, but I'm there like every weekend. And so I go there with my former wife, and it just seems to work for her, and we babysit or whatever. But we're both single now in our lives. So I'm sure there's all kinds of situations that occur, right?
Oh yeah, from lovely ones like yours to very complicated and expensive ones that resemble train wrecks.
Correct.
So, unfortunately. In terms of in terms of your question, what can you do? Thank you for having me on and helping to spread the word, because that's really what this is about. It's about raising consciousness, raising global consciousness. When people become aware that these tools and these resources are available, they learn how to protect their kids from the conflict. I tell people in the workshops that I do. I do workshops for folks who are in high conflict custody disputes in the greater Los Angeles area. And these are folks that are ordered by the court because they've been in a battle for 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 4 years. They've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Nothing is getting better. And the judge says, I need you to go and learn some tools. And, of course, we wish they would have been ordered, on day one, which is another whole policy issue. But they come and they learn about these things, and it starts to shift the way that they think. And one of the things I say to folks is, listen, you can fight until you're on Social Security with your ex if that's what you want to do. Nobody's gonna, it's your right as a U.S. American citizen. Fight if you want to. But unless you want your kids to turn out upside down, and here are all the ways that this is going to harm your kids, build them a safe harbor. Build them a place where, at least when they're in your care, they're safe from the fight. They don't even know it exists. You can't control your ex, but you can control what you're doing. And what you need to do is you need to take the high road. At every step, you need to take the high road. And because you're role modeling for your kids, important life lessons, how to handle the most profoundly difficult problems with integrity and respect, and et cetera, et cetera. And, they're watching us incredibly closely. And at 18 or 25 or 35, they're going to sit down with their therapist, hopefully not, but they may sit down with their therapist or on a quiet mountaintop and reflect on their childhood, and they're going to try and make sense of how you handled yourself and how the other parent handled themselves, and it's going to have made a huge difference on them, So learning these things and starting to shift the way that people think about being in a custody conflict, from thinking of it as a guerrilla war to my job is really to shepherd my kids through this difficult time. Just that paradigm shift can make a big difference.
Let me ask you two quick questions here. I want to interview you again, period. So, if that's okay with you, because this is an important subject, and it needs a whole TV series on it. But I only have a short time here today. Alternative dispute resolution, just so we can help some people right now. What is that? And is that on your website? So somebody that's going through this, at least right now, what can they get here that might help them?
What I think they need to do is they need to go to something called PSC 101.
Okay,
this is a section on our site, and it stands for Peaceful Shared Custody 101, and it's an introduction to ADR, or alternative dispute resolution. And alternative dispute resolution is something that sort of emerged in the 1980s, early 1980s, driven primarily by a couple of profs at Harvard who said there needs to be a new way to try and resolve conflicts, that this sort of adversarial fight like we're at war process that the courts are using isn't the right kind of process for some kinds of disputes, and family law disputes are one. ADR has built on it's basically a principled approach to resolving conflicts, and it's based on 4 key principles. One, that whatever the resolution or whatever the agreement that comes out of it needs to meet both parties' legitimate interests. It needs to be fair and efficient. It needs to produce a lasting agreement. And it needs to improve the relationship between the parties. And so when you start with this as the foundation, what you end up with is you arrive at a very different place. And what's interesting is this stuff started emerging in, like I said, the 1980s, and now there are a whole bunch of very well-established, very well-researched options and programs and professionals available for folks in family law disputes, lawyers, therapists, trained at the best law schools around the world, best psychology schools around the world. They're all available in people's communities, but most folks don't know about it.
Well, okay, so you're getting the word out.
Trying to.
You're doing good. Well, you just started. So
right.
I'm sending this to my daughter and my former wife,
Wonderful.
and for them to know, and they can pass it along, and maybe somebody else pass it along, and to get the word out. You're doing a good thing here. Last question: what's good news for you?
What is good news for me? Good news is when I see parents who've been fighting bitterly finally sit down in a workshop or finally sit down in a private mediation process after having been stuck in court for years, finally sit down in private mediation and take on the responsibility and the ownership of their problem and work it through.
Good man. Okay, thanks for sharing good news with us, and look forward to speaking with you again.
Wonderful. Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.